What's going on, everybody? Before we get into this next video, we just want to be clear that this was a tough event that happened, but after we talked about it and spent time online, we just want to say a massive, huge thank you to the team at Elrond Network for what they did, and thank you for the community as well for supporting one another through this hard time.
Yeah, as Stephen said, thank you so much to the Elrond team. Thank you to the community. As always, when you're dealing with money, it's a super emotional thing. You know, things got emotional, but here we are on the other side, and this is a difficult conversation. So I hope you're all doing well out there.
Yeah, let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a podcast Elrond
What's
Special.
up, guys?
Alec, welcome. How are you today?
Oh man, I'm doing okay. I wasn't doing okay a couple days ago, but I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us were in the same boat. Stephen, how are you doing?
Doing well after kind of this dust has settled a little bit, but definitely on Sunday it was a little bit of a shock of a situation that happened. So let's kind of get right into it. Just in general, this is what this video will be about. This is not episode 12. This is really just a special to address just kind of the circumstances, what happened over the past few days, and then Alec and I are just going to kind of get into the classic discussion, talk about our questions and our responses that we have after what happened. But yeah, also too, there's a lot of learning, and Benjamin Minku will release an official report from the team and everything, detailing
Yep,
what
yep.
happened and all that good stuff. So for the time being, we really just have some facts, and we have some Elrond devs that have confirmed kind of what happened over at the Maiar DEX is where this exploit happened. It was in very short story. It was a bit of an exploit of the liquidity and smart contracts. So we'll get into it a little bit more, look at some tweets, but I'm eager to hear from you, Alec, just how, because you and I, that Sunday morning, we shot with Marcus on Go Guy Go's
Yes, we did.
channel. That was the last I spoke with you that day for the most part. So kind of catch me up, catch the viewers up with what this past Sunday looked like for you.
Yeah, so as Steven said, we just got done with our podcast with Go Guy Go, and I was just chilling. And I have like this thing on my phone where it like cuts me off from social media at a certain time. So I wasn't getting notifications. And
Mm,
then I'm like, hey, I just want to go ahead and check and see if Go Guy Go's made a tweet or anything so I can retweet it and stuff.
yeah.
And then I hop on there and I see a tweet from Benjamin about suspicious activity on the Maiar DEX. And I hop on the DEX and I'm like, oh, we're offline. Oh, actually, dude, I'm telling this story completely wrong. If for real, how it happened was I open up the Maiar DEX and I see that ZPay is at like a cent or something like that. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And
Hmm.
so then I open up Twitter and then I see that about the strange stuff. And
Yeah.
then the Maiar Dex is down and everything else cascades into place. And then I check Arda.run and I'm like, oh, here we are,
Yeah.
90% down. This feels very much like a Luna situation,
Hmm.
and it was one I didn't want to be caught in. And I honestly, to be 100% honest, dude, tears
Hmm.
were shed.
Dang.
Um, I mean, I had a lot of money in there, like
Yeah.
I had plans for this money, and it seemed like those plans had evaporated. So yes,
Yeah.
tears were definitely shed, and I thought I lost it all. But yeah, man, here we are now. How about you, Steven? What went down with you, man?
Yeah, well, that's crazy to hear just your perspective of everything because, again, we spoke that morning and I didn't say anything to you when I saw it happen. And I was basically, after we shot with Marcus, I kind of spent some time on Twitter and I was tuned into the markets. Like, I was literally I was actually in the middle of moving some funds around. And specifically, I had Binance opened, the chart for Binance open, and it was the Bitcoin to Elrond chart. And I'm watching everything, and I'm just kind of used to how the crypto markets are. It's just at the snap of a finger, people start selling, people start buying. It can just everything just kind of happens all of a sudden in crypto is how it kind of feels. So I was looking at the Binance chart of Elrond versus Bitcoin, and it was just like very evident to me that there was a sell-off going on. Like they were on the minute candle. It was like it was just very clear that there was high liquidity, high volume, and it was to the downside. At that point, it was not clear to me what was going on until I popped over to Twitter, just kind of casually, and it's like it was just a very odd, strange feeling wave that kind of came over me as somebody posted the screenshot of Maiar DEX. And at first, the screenshot was everything was basically down by about 15%, which I was like, all right, cool, like 15%, like, was it a positive sign? I wouldn't say so, but again, with the where we are in the crypto markets, it was kind of like, well, like this things happen, things move, things happen quickly. So it wasn't really until it got to about the 90% loss mark, and I mean, they just showed the Maiar DEX screenshot of all the coins and all the liquidity and everything, and it was like it's just like 90%. And I saw, like you said, ZPay was at 1 cent, like everything. UTK was at once, like everything was basically as low as it could have gone, relatively speaking, of course. Hashtag Luna. No, all jokes aside, though, that's kind of what happened, and at that point I mean, I was on Twitter, I was on the markets, and I am sure or obviously there were things that kind of happened before this event actually occurred, but I took to Twitter and I just tweeted at the team like, "What's going on?" Like I made a post to them, and I just made one in general. It's like, "Hey guys, I see what's going on here. I have no idea," and yeah, it was like I said, a very strange wave kind of came over me because again, in these moments that I didn't know what exactly was happening, and of course the dust had far from settled at that point, I had no idea. All I knew was that I saw, like I could tell that liquidity from the DEX had drained, and that was a shock to say the very least. I didn't shed any tears, not to say that that wasn't valid to be shedding some tears, because I mean I'm out here and I'm just kind of like watching these charts, and immediately it comes over me, and I just stand up and. Man, I just like take a few paces, for real. Like I take a few paces, and I can feel this overwhelming emotion. Very hard to say if it was adrenaline or what exactly it was, but it was just I was facing a reality that I didn't think was something I would ever face, and that was the first reaction, because what reaction can you have to something like that?
Yeah.
So, like I said, I walked around, took a few paces. I'm sure that if I looked in the mirror, my face was a little bit flush. But eventually, or not eventually, but very quickly there, because again, I'm living on my cryptocurrency, and the majority of it was on the DEX. So it just so happens that before UTK launched on the DEX, I took a lot of liquidity over to KuCoin and bought UTK on KuCoin, because their liquidity depth is a lot deeper, and also it was before the trade, or I'm sorry, the launch on the DEX actually happened. So there were a few reasons I did that, but the point is that I moved a good portion of my portfolio to buy UTK on KuCoin, and because of KuCoin's with daily withdrawal fees, I was with you in Kansas when we were talking about how it's
Mhm.
going to take me 5 days to transfer all of this. So in short, I need to kind of wrap up my side of things here, because that was basically all of the liquidity I had left. Maiar DEX was shut down. My portfolio had dropped 90%, which was not complete zero. So I still had basically a 2019 version of my portfolio sitting on Maiar DEX. But at that point, Maiar DEX was shut down. At that point, I had no idea what was going on there. I considered every dollar on there zero. So on KuCoin, thankfully, kind of I had a remainder of UTK I'd yet to have bridged, and immediately I just sold half for Bitcoin, sold half for US dollar, and just kind of stewed there. And as soon as Benjamin started at least talking about it a little bit, it made me feel better that at least what was going on was being acknowledged, because
Yeah.
there was a good period of time. Who knows how long or short it was, but it was a long enough period of time that I saw exactly as it happened. I tweeted, and I'm just kind of sitting here with my hands empty, wondering what's going on, trying to keep my shit together. Not that I was really close to losing it, but there was a good period of time where there wasn't really people on the dev side on the Elrond team talking about it. So it was just like okay, like, it's just like, what in the world could I have said? What could I have done? So let's, I guess, if you want to respond to that, please do, because that kind of catches us up to speed and segues into the start of this from the team's perspective. So I was going to bring up some tweets to go along with the video.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a scary moment, and almost I don't know if you were afraid to say it, but it kind of felt like you wanted to, but it almost felt like it was a rug pull moment. Like it really did feel like everything was being swept out from under us. And
Mhm.
it really, yeah, I can understand why you might have felt a certain way during that period of silence.
Yeah. So to be clear, I think the difference between an actual rug is that it was basically the plan and it was an inside job, whereas this was a exploit.
Yeah,
And
yep, yep.
so that's just something to clarify because it feels like the rug was pulled out from under us. That's for damn sure. So let me go ahead and share my screen here, and I can share with you basically where everything began. So I have some questions that we'll talk about afterwards with you, Alec, because one of my main like big questions I had was just the timing of what happened and how it happened, because this exploit may have aimed to use the ETH bridge as a means of getting their liquidity out of the exchange, but the exploit itself did not depend, was not through, to my understanding, the ETH bridge itself. So who's to say what exactly their intentions were? But here, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. So I just think it's so crazy, and I think that this had to do with, as we've come to learn, there was a exploit in the Elrond protocol that was patched and was going through some addressing by the team, which coming over here. Um, this is a dev, Robert Sasu, if I'm saying that right. But this was actually tweeted either today or I guess, yeah, today, earlier today. And so this is a dev, and he said a few other things. So definitely check out the links in the description because I will post everything and leave everything out there for the viewers to learn about and kind of follow the tracks and soak in as much information before the team releases what they have to say. Because stepping aside from all of this, as you said, Alec, this it was your money. This is your money. We are participants. We are investors. We're taking a risk here. And the truth is that this is a massive reality check for everyone that is involved.
Yeah.
This is not FUD. FUD is targeted fear, uncertainty, distrust that basically aimed at degrading and disqualifying a project or person. So that is what FUD is. Fear, uncertainty, and distrust are just human emotions, and everybody likely is feeling that, has felt that. So we need to be honest about what we're participating in, what the risks are, because that is how you be successful. And I'm not saying I know the path, the road, the secrets to success, but I am confident that we need checks and we need to keep our life and our finances and so forth in order. Because if we are not balanced, then we will fall under pressure. Our emotions will get the best of us at the worst possible time. And that's how you become unsuccessful, is in the snap of a finger, you make an emotional mistake. So this is all a big reality check for everybody to keep your lives, keep your brain, keep your body, your heart, your mind, everything in balance, because this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not to the moon, because we saw the reality of what can happen when you are participating in a bleeding edge industry that is cryptocurrency. We all want to have the gains and the fun and the success, but as Benjamin said before any of this started, and the Ad Astra portal is Ad Astra per Aspera through the stars and through the trials. So sorry to run off there, but I need to get some shit off my chest because people are calling FUD and pretending that I'm degrading the projects, but it's like, no, dude, like I'm not, I own Elrond and I believe in the project, but I'm not going to deny facts if they need to be discussed.
For sure, dude. Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to lay the facts on the line and try, and no speculation here, just facts and exactly what they are.
Yeah. So as I was getting into there, so this basically was a dev or backend team member acknowledging, as it says, the exploit was fixed last week, but we wanted to go through standard procedures and full testing before deploying on the mainnet. That was kind of jumping ahead big time because now rewinding to where all this started was UTK, the ETH bridge, all of this excitement, all of this attention on the UTrust or not protocol, but the UTrust bridging over to the Maiar DEX, UTK 2.0 launching the ETH bridge, and it just so happens that in this period of time where there's a lot of focus, a lot of attention on what's going on, exciting stuff, there's an exploit. So before we get into it, what thoughts do you have, Alec, if any, about the timing of this exploit? And be honest, do you think that there could be foul play here? I'm not going to dance around the tough questions.
I've never actually considered the fact if there's foul play. It might have like crossed my mind for a second, but I don't. I really hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
I've never thought about timing. I've never really considered what timing could even have on this issue.
Yeah.
So if you could, dude, enlighten me.
No, I want to be clear that I do not think that there was foul play, but I think that it brings up a very big question about who is in the know when it comes to the development of these protocols and specifically Elrond. What I mean by that is there is well, think about the US government. There's classified information that not everybody can just have access to and learn about. So there is no real governing agency over these industries. So just hypothetically, this is just the idea of important information, i.e., there is an exploit opportunity on the protocol that's coming. The fix will come next week, and somehow that information, I'm not thinking that there's foul play, but there's just a big question as to how very important information, such as this exploit that was acknowledged and fixed and was coming, did that stay within the circles that it needed to? Was there some sort of leak of information? Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so I
yeah.
see what you're saying. So like the fact that the exploit was known about and someone could have leaked this information to someone to take advantage of this exploit before it was fixed.
Whether on accident, that's really what I'm saying, is whether it was just hinted at or mentioned or something. Information that is classified or secret to companies, corporations, that's what insider trading is. It gets out in the world, and there was an opportunity here in a short window of time for somebody to act on this. um,
Wow.
so that's what Robert said here, that the exploit was acknowledged and it was not a DEX bug. And with that being said, I'll hop over to this Arda Project tweeted the kind of the explanation, and I just want to at least bring it up. It's pretty technical, so I'm not qualified, nor do I understand the depths of exactly what went on. Again, this will indeed be linked in the description below. Huge shout out and thank you to Arda Project for sharing with us what happened, and we know that this was valid because Robert actually did reply or quote tweeted this. If I'm able to find it, it's beside the point. But it was acknowledged by the team that this is what happened. So jumping into it, and again, not going to get into it here, just going to put it in the description and let everybody know that it's there, because the highlight is, and these are just facts, this is not FUD, we need to acknowledge this and face it, that on June 5th, 12:04 p.m. UTC, a hacker stole 1.65 million Elrond EGLD. So I want to stop right there for just a moment. That's a really tough truth. That is a tough truth. A hacker stole 1.65 million Elrond. And the silver lining, of course, is in the next statement that the Elrond team worked nonstop. They really did. And they kept this Elrond from affecting and having a serious impact. So as we know, the DEX has settled, the DEX is back open, but the truth is kind of tough to digest.
That's almost 10% of circulating supply.
Yeah, it's not a small amount, and there was a lot of questioning before this thread was released. Again, we're not going to get into it because it goes into the Explore, talks about different wallets, and it goes on to talk about some of the code. And I haven't really understood it, but long story short, do your own research, read into this. My high level understanding is that a smart contract was manipulated to extract Elrond from a locked smart contract that was created to hold our Elrond that was being used for liquidity. So we have, as liquidity providers, actually a wrapped Elrond token that we combine and receive liquidity provider token. So it's all accounted for, and it seems as though that the smart contract that, or the wallet, whatever the terminology is, was told to send this Elrond to essentially whichever wallet they wanted. So this was not a Ethereum bridge exploit. This was not a Maiar DEX exploit. This had to do, as we talked about over here, this had to do with a protocol bug that was acknowledged by the team and was going to be fixed. So, man, it's a tough truth to face. What happened here, and I just want to kind of leave any technical explanation at that because, again, a more detailed report will come from Benjamin, in addition to hopefully more details on what exactly was done to keep this liquidity, these Elrond from being removed, and so forth. So go
If
ahead.
if I remember correctly, I went over this thread really quickly, and I think it said that the bridge was actually the piece that helped them stop the funds from
Really?
leaving. Yeah, I think it said that they intercepted the funds on the bridge in order to
Wow.
recover funds.
It's pretty crazy, and even talking about it is a little bit stressful. I'm not gonna lie, and it's difficult because these are real lives and real people, and it's not a game. It really isn't a game. These are tough questions that we have to face, and I think that for me, the emphasis is, or rather, probably what makes this more difficult right off the bat is I cannot talk about an experience with Elrond that they were exploited. So that is a plus and a minus. So we can create our own kind of pro cons plus minus charts because obviously it's plus. Elrond was never exploited, never hacked. There was never a question of what will Elrond's or what is the Elrond team's response to an exploit, to an attack. Are they going to be able to effectively mitigate any losses if that happens? That isn't a question that we want to ask ourselves because those are some harsh or some hard questions. And so it's like, okay, negative, there was an exploit. Positive, the team stopped it. And at this point, it's kind of balanced out because obviously we hadn't been through an exploit like this, and we got a good response of the team. And when I say good, that's probably an understatement because I dare say it was phenomenal. And I mean, my hats go off to them. I've nothing more to say. So, what do you have to say? Is the better
Uh,
question?
I think you can really tell how much work was put in during these hours. Just go watch the video of Benjamin
Yeah,
talking to the community. It looks like it had been a tough couple of days, which hats off to you, man. Thank you so much for taking care of us and making sure funds were safe.
yeah,
But dude, like,
yeah. It's strange. It's almost this trust that I had and have in the team made it very difficult to really understand what the team went through. It's one thing to notice a fire, and it's another thing to be in charge of putting it out. Can you still see my screen, I assume?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So this is just what happened kind of sequentially. This was the first time Benjamin acknowledged that something happened with the DEX, investigating, and this is what you saw eventually, investigating these suspicious
yeah, yeah.
activities. And I mean, yeah, man, it's basically, I think it's pretty clear that the team was up constantly. It's almost 7 a.m. there, so they worked through the night there. Going down, there was a longer thread that addressed more of kind of what happened. Again, all these tweets will be in the description. Um, but yeah, and then all hands on deck still, and this is now over. I don't remember how many hours, but after it happened, but clearly all the entire team, all hands, all energy, all focus was being focused or poured into what was going on here. So, it's good to see that is what kind of took place there. But the truth is, it's like, well, that's kind of what we expect. This it is a big deal. This onboarding the next billion, the whole idea of cryptocurrency and what it says about traditional finance versus this new wave of Web3 and DeFi, in addition to just all of the just protocols out there that are kind of competing against it itself within the industry. So it's these are tough questions, and I just want to be clear that this is a tough thing for everybody, and I strangely feel a bit comforted by what happened. It's not something that you can foresee happening, and the fact that they did acknowledge the exploit before it happened, and try to patch it as quickly as possible in the correct manner is commendable, rather than just being more centralized and just forcing this mainnet upgrade before all the validators had agreed and so forth. However, that process goes. So, uh, I just want to face kind of the facts of it, and the truth of it. But I really do want to kind of emphasize for me that even though this was a tough situation, I still feel good about Elrond. Like, I don't know, man. Like, call me a fanboy, call me a diehard, whatever you want to call it. I just think that from a high level, Elrond is not the first blockchain, first protocol to go through an exploit. It happens with Ethereum, and there are some links I'll try to find some infographics that explain how many millions of dollars were stolen in other Ethereum, Solana, ADA, just like at least probably there's 10 on this list of different exploits, how many total dollars have been lost in multiple exploits across all of these protocols. And Elrond was able to stop any money from being truly exploited, in terms of the paper, in terms of what they were able to recover, in terms of what they used from the Elrond Foundation to recover. So I've been very long-winded, and I want to leave more room for you to talk, Alec.
Dude, it just definitely, I'm not gonna lie, I felt shaken, and I
Mm-hmm.
still feel shaken about the whole situation. Um, I might need to rethink some things. I might need to move around liquidity. I might need to just, I still believe in Elrond, but also this was really terrifying. And like you said, exploits do happen. I This doesn't change my stance on how I feel about blockchain technology and what it means for people and what it can do for us in the future. But I definitely can see this having a negative impact on the EGLD price, as it already has. When this first happened and I was looking at Binance and EGLD was still around $72, I asked Giovanna, hey, babe, this is probably the only way we can make our money back is by putting a short position right now. Like, I almost opened up a short position, which I should have, because I would be profiting right now. And it only made sense that the price was going to go down from here. News like this is horrible news to drive things down. But yeah, that was yeah, dude. So there are my thoughts. I'm very happy. I'm very thankful to the team for recovering the funds. It's really cool to see my Eagle not at $5.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really nice, because that's what I was fully expecting when I were to get on the Maiar DEX. But I believe I saw you tweet something today about people unstaking their Eagle, which seems to be a just natural reaction to things.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because
Yeah.
that's actually what led me to get in conversation with Robert, that Elrond team member, because I did do some analysis as soon as the day's data was in, according to the Elrond Explorer, and I was pretty shocked to see that the Elrond growth, as Robert tweeted here, it's back to normal now. But yesterday, before I was able to hear from Robert, the growth.elrond.com was showing that 30% of EGLD stakers had unstaked. So if you can see there, I don't know how clear that is. Um, but yeah, so it was interesting because according to this error, so this is corrected, and we can look at it in just a moment. But yeah, yesterday it said that 31% of there was a 31% decrease in stakers, despite 8,045 Elrond being added to stake.
Huh.
So thankfully, this thread did catch some people's attention, which I'm glad that it did, because again, that's where Robert came in and explained to us that, as it says here, there's a problem on the growth site for Elrond, and it was going to be adjusted accordingly. So it says total staked data is correct, number of staked users is wrong. And now on the growth panel, we can see that there has been very few that have unstaked after this event. And I don't know, how do you feel about the response, whether it is so far, how the dust has settled so far, or just kind of what do you expect to play out here? Because regardless of, as you kind of started to say there, Alec, regardless of what the team did and how much we are thankful to them for saving the funds that were exploited, it still happened, and there's still people globally like you and me having these conversations either with friends, family, or with themselves. So what do you think are the either the appropriate responses to something like this, and even to speculate a little bit and without getting too fuddy, I'm trying to avoid FUD, but yeah, what do you think the response will be?
I think people are going to maybe start reevaluating where they're sitting and how much weight they have in their bag. I think maybe they're going to be like, okay, yes, this is a top notch project, but like all things that are bleeding edge, like you said, they have their hiccups.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe in order to protect oneself, I don't, like you said, I don't want to spread FUD.
Yeah.
Maybe just a reevaluation of how much are you willing to risk?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is bleeding to edge technology, and with that, it does equate risk.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be willing to put it on the line in order to, I don't know, receive the big reward, which I
Mm-hmm.
think we will all eventually get to, all-time high, $500. If you're buying now a crap load of EGLD and it hits to all-time high, I would say you're doing pretty well. But it's whether or not you believe this technology will hold out in the long term. And so just, I think people are going to reevaluate their position, and that's I don't know. Like me, I'm going to do the same, but I don't think I'm going to sell. I don't think I'm going to sell any.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. But also at the same time, maybe I need to start looking into other projects too. But Eagle is my baby boy, and so how can I set it down? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
I feel that. I feel that
yeah,
heavy.
yeah,
Yeah, it's tough. It's because it's like, all right, this happened and it happens often, but it just, it's one of those things that I feel like we just kind of have to laugh through it a little bit. And it'd be one thing if things ended differently, but for now, I think that this was an excellent test of the team, of ourselves, kind of just checking yourself. And I think you nailed it, man. Like, we're not trying to spread FUD. We want to be honest about the risks here. But Elrond is still a good project, and if the price goes down from here, it's all a matter of who is really here to freaking make it, because it's, in a way, it's almost like, all right, like the competition is heating up, because it could, or it very well may be, even at these prices, kind of a dog eat dog world where people are just going to ape in to Elrond no matter how many dollars it falls. But like when I was watching from the sidelines what happened with Luna, it was just like, ah, geez, like what a series of unfortunate events that was. Like that was just really bad timing for something like that to happen. And I really feel basically the same about Elrond and what happened. It's just like, dang, like there were some bad snowballs that kind of rolled, and some things did not go as foreseeable. And it was good to acknowledge that that could happen anytime. But again, I think it just goes back to this idea of what bear markets do, and a higher arching theme, an idea that there's no good time for an exploit. That's for darn sure. But just in general, where we're at in the bear market, I think
yeah.
that before Elrond went through this past week, people were already perhaps nervous Do I hold? Do I sell some? Where are we going to be? There's a recession coming. What's going on with these wars, COVID, monkeypox, just this swarm of negative sentiment in the air. So I really think that at this point, if price goes down, if there is a sell-off, I think that the validators, the big holders, the big investors are going to step in and buy cheap Elrond if there is a retail sell-off, or even if there are some bigger holders that do sell off, which we will see in 10 days, given the 10-day unbonding period. But Maiar DEX is reopened. Withdrawals are opened. They were never closed. Maiar DEX just went down for maintenance, but the bridge is back up. I already transferred over my UTK. So I'll be honest, I held some Bitcoin on a separate exchange as my form of risk mitigation for something like this happening. But the remainder I bought back into UTK, bridged it back over, and within hours of the DEX back opening, I'm already back farming. Already have my EGLD UTK liquidity sitting there, pretty earning rewards. Meta staking goes live tomorrow. UTK. So it's just like, man, what? Like it's just like what that? It's this reminds me of when I got a phone call that I got the internship with the Vanguard group the day after I broke up with my girlfriend. It was like I'm kind of bummed about like the loss of the girlfriend, but like I'm going to have a sweet ass internship this summer. That's exactly how I feel. It's like, well, that was a hard couple days there, but we're back into it and like, let's fucking go. It's like, it's so tough. It's like, I just want to laugh and maybe a little bit of cry.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely been a tough couple of days, and I'm glad that things are back resumed. And yeah, I not gonna lie, I can definitely see things, people being scared and doing certain things. So if
Hmm.
the prices do go lower, I'm gonna buy. Just that
Yeah.
simple. I mean, I can't help but buy cheap Eagled. So I'm
Hmm.
sure there's gonna be a lot of other people to do the same. The technology's still solid. So
Man, seriously, like the market, especially Elrond specifically, like, man, like it's pretty like savage out there these days. Like just in terms of the emotion, the drama that's going around. I know that people have been blocked, fudders are being called out. A lot of people have been upset at me for my FUD, which again, I think I was genuinely fearful, uncertain, distrust, and naturally I'm going to connect with my community about how we are feeling. So I'm sorry if I scared anybody, but hopefully everybody, including you, Alec, feels comfortable just being honest and asking me questions. It's one thing to respond after 15 minutes of this happening, and it's another thing to look back on it. All right, the dust has settled, and things are now, we can see the gears are still turning here. It's just a little bit of a setback. It seems as though those who will fall into the FUD category, rather succumbing to it and perhaps selling off or going to a different protocol. One, I think that it's noteworthy that people, if they do leave Elrond, at least they still know about it. So that if they
yeah,
do leave and then they're like, oh my gosh, like Elrond is still kicking ass out there, they still know about it. They know how to get back in at the snap of a finger. Those people that were adopted per se might leave, but they could come back in 15 minutes. Also, too, a big piece that's noteworthy is just the raw media attention that this got. The Google trend analysis clearly shows an uptick in searches for Elrond, searches for Maiar, etc. There was just the amount of engagement activity that I saw on Twitter and just individuals tweeting about it, supporting about it. Man, like what a freaking like not shit show because that implies a lot of negativity, but it was just a whirlwind, a tornado of just and it's a lot to say.
yeah. And the amount of people, the amount of you out there calling Elrond a shit coin during this, come on, man. Like, yeah, exactly. Exactly. There were so many, dude. And honestly, like they were getting to me. They
Hmm.
were starting to dig in their roots. And I was like, no, you know
Yeah.
what technology you got here, man. Chill the F out. And
Yeah.
so, like, I chilled, I eventually got over it. I'm not going to lie, I didn't sleep well that night. But I slept and I woke up the next morning accepting the fact that most of my money was gone. And
Hmm.
then I saw that the team was on top of it. And here we are today.
For real, man. Like, after it happened, I was walking around, pacing, breathing, and I'm just literally at that point, I'm planning out my next year. I'm planning out my weekly expenses because my portfolio essentially just got reset. I'm out here without a job living off of crypto, and I tweeted about it because I like I said, Twitter's a place that I need to and can express myself at times, and that's where my community is, and that's where people have indicated that they care about what I have to say. And it was a very challenging event that went down, but at the end of the what happened before there was any clarity, I got to this just foundation of who I am as a person and what I've done. And it was like at that point I was really able to just like let it go and let these events that I cannot control out of my hands, and just remind myself like, damn, like I'm not going anywhere. Steven's heart is still here. Steven's mind is still here. And like, it's great to have this rebirth moment, but like, what kind of empowered me was just like, man, get the fuck out of the way. Like, this is just a setback for Steven, too. Like, blockchain is not the key, it's just a tool. And it was invigorating for me to literally like lose my portfolio in that way because I was like, all right, let's fucking go. Like, I got to prove myself again and I'm fucking ready. Like, that's just like how I feel because of how much shit I've personally gotten over the years, and the fact that I've never my support of Elrond has never wavered. As soon as I discovered it, I basically only bought and supported and discussed, and it was only over the past 6 months that I grew more followers on Twitter. So it's just like, yo, like I get it. As you just said there, Alec, like some of those futters were kind of getting to you. And it was a reality check for me as well, because it's like, all right, I might make a little joke, I might poke a little bit of fun, but the internet is a place where somebody could have met me 1 second ago, 5 minutes ago. They don't know the history of me. They haven't watched all 11 episodes of podcast Elrond and etc. It's like every person could be a new face, and I think it's those people that it's important for me to keep in mind, because as much as I want to reject this title of influencer, the fact is that the internet is a place for people to share opinions, and there's probably a higher chance that people could look at either one of us as the hosts of this show and consider highly what we have to say. And
True, true.
that's that's a learning process for me. Twitter was a place that I went to educate and was never a place for me to gain a following. So at some point, like I'm kind of like a dick. It's like, oh, if you don't like it, unfollow. But that's just not. I don't think that's a good relationship to have online, or with any other people that I meet there. I think that that is arrogant, and again, like this exploit that happened, it kind of like it just pointed fingers or poked like or shown it's shown some light shined some light in some places that apparently needed to be lit up, and kind of brought out of this kind of darkness of just mystery and subconscious. So yeah, it's a good day to receive those funds back, and Maiar DEX is back open. Gosh, man. I hope that you were able to move forward. How has the week been for you as the team has come out with their updates, and how did it go from basically you being pretty upset to feeling a little bit how you do today? What allowed you to kind of break out of that mind trap?
Oh, really, man? I just kind of eventually just accepted that my money was gone. And so that
Yeah.
was really me breaking out of the mind trap right there. And so I was
Mhm.
out pretty early. And then
Yeah.
really it was kind of just a nice surprise to see that I wouldn't call it a surprise. It was a nice thing to see that the team was able to get on top of it and return the funds. And so really it was, I wouldn't I wouldn't call it a sigh of relief. I would call it like, oh, cool. I don't have to start completely over.
Yeah.
Because I, like you, I was planning, okay, looks like I have to find another way to do
Mhm.
whatever I need to do.
Yeah, seriously, like it sounds like we both were able to acknowledge the facts of the very situation in front of us, and that helped us to move on and forget about it and really just trust the team. Cause yeah, man, like I was like, holy shit, like Maiar Dex is Gonzo, like it's done.
Yeah.
That's that's not what I thought would happen, but that's the reality that I kind of needed to just face and live in for a little bit. So yeah, man, like I remember in those moments, like when the Elrond Explorer was even showing like a $6 Elrond, like I looked at my Maiar balance on the Explorer and I was like, damn, I just got a setback here. And at this point, if it gets back, like it'll be a miracle. Then it happened, and I'm just kind of like sitting here, kind of laughing. So it's been a fun week and a challenging one for a lot of people. So hats off to the team at Elrond and everybody in the community who helped each other through it, and in whichever way that we did. So it's really awesome to see how the world kind of came together, as small as it may be, to empower each other and to lift one another up.
Yeah, man, good shit to see, and I'm glad we made it on the other side of this tunnel.
Hell yeah. Well, with that being said, unless Alec, you've got anything else to share with the viewers here, we'll let everybody go and remind you to check out Benjamin's tweet where he'll post that detailed analysis. In addition to the description below, we'll put some links and some helpful threads that we found online just to get a better idea of what happened.
Well, it's been good discussing this with you, Stephen, and I'm glad we're here on the other side, dude.
Yeah, it was a really tough situation, and let's keep this dialogue opened because this conversation is very well ongoing. It's a conversation of facts and truths, and there may be more information that comes out over time. So seriously, everybody, reach out to Alec or I on Twitter. Open up the comments below after you click that like button, of course. But yeah, let us know if you have questions, concerns. I want to be a voice here that acknowledges facts, acknowledges difficult truths, and I think that's how we kind of get through this together. Is we figure it out for ourselves together and ask questions, even though they might be tough.
Yeah, dude. Yep. Reach out, and we're sure to reach back.
Hell yeah. Alrighty, well, stay tuned. In the next couple weeks, we'll be shooting the 12th episode of Podcast Elrond. Hopefully by then we'll have a few more clarities on what exactly happened with the DEX and the Elrond Network. But until then, get excited. There's still so much to be excited about Elrond Network, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode.
On the flip side. Peace.